Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into our time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
We go back 85 years for the very first show of the series, Dr. Christian, starring Jean Hersholdt. This episode from November 7th, 1937, Operation in a Shack. And we thank you for tuning in on this Monday, 7th day of November. This is the 311th day of the year, 54 days remaining until we get to 2023. Presidential elections on this date: 1848, Zachary Taylor elected president in the first presidential election held in every state on the same day. 1916, Democrat Woodrow Wilson re-elected president by defeating Republican Charles Evans Hughes. Meanwhile, Jeanette Rankin in 1916 became the first woman elected to the House of Representatives. She was in Montana. In 1944, Franklin Delano Roosevelt won re-election over challenger Thomas E. Dewey to become the only president elected to a fourth term. In 1972, Richard Nixon, the Republican incumbent, defeated Democrat Senator George McGovern. And in 2000, Republican Texas Governor George W. Bush defeated Democrat Vice President Al Gore, but the final outcome wouldn't be known for over a month because of disputed votes in Florida. A cartoon by Thomas Nast on this date in 1874 in Harper's Weekly considered the first important use of an elephant as a symbol for the Republican Party. Women in Colorado granted the right to vote in 1893. The first issue of the New Republic magazine published in 1914. The 1918 influenza epidemic spread to Western Samoa on this date, killing 7,500 people, or about 20% of the population, by the end of the year. Now, Buck Rogers in the 25th Century aired on radio for the first time in 1932. The UN General Assembly adopted a resolution calling for the UK, France, and Israel to immediately withdraw their troops from Egypt back in 1956. It was in 1962 Richard Nixon lost the gubernatorial election in the state of California. In his concession speech, he stated it would be his last press conference.
I think that it's time that our great newspapers have at least the same objectivity, the same fullness of coverage that television has. And I can only say thank God for television and radio for keeping the newspapers a little more honest. Last point. I leave you gentlemen now, and you will now write it, you will interpret it, that's your right. But as I leave you, I want you to know, just think how much you're going to be missing. You don't have Nixon to kick around anymore.
But those parting comments in 1962, after losing a presidential election and then the California governorship, would not be accurate. Released on this date in 1962, The First Family.
Yes, go to sleep now, Caroline. Daddy tucked you in, and you've had 3 glasses of water. Now, good night.
Tell me a story, Daddy.
Oh, come on, sweetheart. It's late.
Just one short story, Daddy?
Oh, all right, just one.
Tell me my favorite story.
About the tall man?
Yes, with all the hair.
Well, there was this tall man with a lot of hair. And he was prince and a great warrior. And the people of his country picked him to be their leader because he could protect them and lead them on to the new frontiers.
Tell me about when he had the trouble.
Now, one day, the evil prince with the black beard from the island in the south and the terrible fat bear from the cold north came, and they tried to hurt the prince. But the prince was too smart, and he chased them away. So the handsome prince and all the people of his country lived happily ever after.
Thank you, Daddy. Good night.
Good night, Caroline. Good night.
These sessions do him so much good.
Now, the album was a good-natured parody of President Kennedy, both as commander-in-chief and as a member of a large, well-known political family. The album sold 1 million copies a week for the first 6 weeks of release. A second album was released in the spring of 1963, but as Rich Little said it, Von Meter's career ended when President Kennedy was assassinated in November of 1963. They recalled many of the albums, and Rich Little said it to me on the radio, said, poor Von Meter should have been in the car with Kennedy because his career died. President Johnson signed the Public Broadcasting Act of 1967 on this date, establishing the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Congress overrode President Nixon's veto of the War Powers Resolution in 1973, which limited presidential power to wage war without congressional approval. In 1987, Judge Douglas H. Ginsburg asked President Reagan to withdraw his nomination to the Supreme Court on this date in 1987.
I was looking forward to sharing with the American people my views about justice and about the role of the courts in our society. Unfortunately, all of the attention has been focused on our personal lives, and much of that on events of many years ago.
Ginsburg withdrew his nomination after he admitted he had smoked marijuana a number of times after becoming a professor at the Harvard Law School in the late 70s. These days, if there was that sort of admission, he would be swiftly nominated unanimously by our Senate today. In 1989, Douglas Wilder won the governor's seat in Virginia, becoming the first elected African-American governor in the U.S., and on that same date, 1989, David Dinkins became the first African-American mayor of New York City. Magic Johnson announced on this date in 1991 that he tested positive for HIV, the virus that causes AIDS, and that he was retiring. Hillary Clinton elected to the Senate in 2000, becoming the First Lady of the U.S. to win public office. The supersonic commercial aircraft Concorde resumed flying on this date in 2001. After a 15-month break, it wouldn't be back for long. Iran banned advertising of U.S. products in 2002. Keith Ellison, a Democrat from Minnesota, became the first Muslim elected to Congress in 2006, and the Democrat-controlled House narrowly passed 220 to 215, the Obamacare Act, back in 2009. Passing away on this date in history, First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt. Whatever you think of the politics of the Roosevelt family, Eleanor Roosevelt was an outstanding First Lady. Actor Steve McQueen passing away on this date. Bart Maverick on the television show Maverick. Jack Kelly. Also actor Howard Keel. Smokin' Joe Frazier, the boxer. Singer-songwriter, poet Leonard Cohen. Attorney General Janet Reno. And actor Dean Stockwell from the original Quantum Leap. This is the birth date of comedian Archie Campbell, evangelist Billy Graham, trumpeter Al Hurt, Mary Travers of Peter, Paul, and Mary, King Kong Bundy, the pro wrestler, and from Different Strokes, Dana Plato. Birthdays of people who are still with us, Johnny Rivers, 80 years old today. Help me information, get in touch with my Marie, down in Memphis, Tennessee. Pro wrestler Ken Patera is 79. Joni Mitchell also turned 79 today. From Bar Rescue, John Tapper, Peter Brady, Christopher Knight, 65 years old today. From Comedy Central's Workaholics and the Pitch Perfect franchise, Adam Devine is 39. Singer Lourdes is 26. And I missed Judy Tenuta, who passed away earlier this year. I didn't know she was 72. I thought she was much younger. But she's a comedian. If you don't know who she is. Oh, some of the people celebrating the 7th day of November is their birthday. If this is your birthday.
Hi, we're the 4 freshmen, and we just want to say, Happy birthday to you.
We go back 85 years to the first episode of Dr. Christian, starring Jean Hersholdt, November 7th, 1937, on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on this Monday.
You know, a lot of times you have to choose between something high quality or something that saves you money. But if you can get both, why not? Especially when it comes to healthcare. And that's MediShare. You get both. The typical family saves $500 a month switching to MediShare. And that's huge, but it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch too. The customer satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. It's because MediShare works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge PPO network, so yeah, really, you could save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. If you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. Here is the number you need. Call 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE. 833-34-BIBLE.
Thanks for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox here on your favorite station. Dr. Christian aired for 16 seasons on CBS Radio from November 7th of 1937, the show you're hearing today, to January 6th of 1954. And, well, Jean Hersholdt will explain the show in this opening of the very first Dr. Christian, Sunday afternoon, November 7th, 1937, 85 years ago today.
Hollywood, California presents the premiere of a new air show. Star of the show, Jean Hersholdt, in his greatest of all roles. The title of the show, Dr. Christian. The sponsor of the show, the Cheeseburger Manufacturing Company, owners of the trademark Vaseline.
For years, Jean Hersholdt was one of the outstanding character actors of pictures. Then came the day that he was assigned to the part of the country doctor in the 20th Century Fox production of that name. And Jean Hersholdt became one of the foremost stars of Hollywood. It gives us great pleasure to be able to bring you the extraordinary gifts of this great artist in the kind of role that made him famous and that he made famous. As Paul Christian, the doctor of River's End, Jean Hersholdt has in store for you many hours of absorbing, heartwarming drama to high-spot your Sunday afternoons this winter. And so I give you Jean Hersholdt.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you've heard of the fellow who didn't believe in ghosts, but who just the same was afraid of them. Well, I don't believe in luck, but just the same it happens. And it happens in very strange ways. 3 years ago in a little town up in Canada, 5 baby girls were born. Now, the birth of 5 little girls in Canada couldn't possibly have any effect on an actor playing character parts in Hollywood. Only it did. And because of what happened up there, I've been consistently casting doctor roles in pictures and now in this new radio series for the Cheeseburger Manufacturing Company. Well, I like playing doctor roles. I like the role of Dr. Paul Christian in these broadcasts. I like being on the program of a company whose products are so well known and which has been so highly recommended and regarded for so many years. People often ask me if I'm a real doctor, if I ever studied medicine. Well, I'm not, and I haven't. But I have studied doctors in order to play convincingly the role of a doctor. And I found out a lot about doctors. And the more I found out, the greater has been my respect and my admiration for the medical profession. Now, I don't want to take any more time away from the show. I only started out to say something about the quintuplets bringing me luck. And they have. But then, 5 of a kind should bring anyone luck, shouldn't they? Thank you.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, we take you to the little town of River's End, which sprawls carelessly at the crossways where the highway traverses the Sage River Road. The highway runs to the city 70 miles away, but the river road is the most traveled. Over this road on this particular morning...
Hello there. How are you, young lady?
Oh, I'm all right, but my doll is sick.
Why, you don't say. Here, let me have a look at her. I'm afraid your doll has high sawdust pressure.
Oh, do you think you can cure her, Dr. Christian?
Well, the doll is pretty hard to cure, Millie. Now, let me see. She mustn't have any candy.
No candy?
No, you eat all the candy yourself. Here. Here's something to buy it with.
Oh, but Dr. Christian, Mama says I mustn't ever take money from people.
Oh, but this is different. If your doll has to go without candy, there has to be some candy for her to go without. You tell Mama I gave you to Mommy, and everything will be all right.
Gee, thank you, Dr. Christian.
Oh, goodbye, Millie.
Goodbye.
Oh, Dr. Christian.
Morning, Mrs. Tansy.
Oh, Doctor, I got that letter about your bill, and
Oh, now, don't worry about my bill. Judy Price wrote that letter. She's back from business college, and, well, she has sort of wished herself on me as my office girl.
Oh, the letter was real nice, and I do want to get the bill settled just as soon as I can.
Well, how much is that bill?
$10.
Well, Mrs. Tansy, things being as they are, I'll make you 50-50 proposition. I'll forget half of that bill.
Oh, I thank you.
And you forget the other half. Goodbye, Mrs. Tansy.
Oh, but Dr. Christian. Dr. Christian,
Hi, Doc.
Hello, Jim. How's the missus?
She's getting along first rate.
Oh, that's fine.
Doc, I don't know how to thank you for what you've done for us. If it hadn't been for you, she'd...
Oh, no, I just happened to have been there, that's all. If it hadn't been me, it would have been some other doctor.
Well, just the same, Well, I ain't much on making a fancy speech.
Oh, no, don't try, Jim. I'm the darnest person to sleep through a speech you ever saw.
But I want to do something, Doc. You can't pay that kind of a debt just with money. I owe something more.
That's right. But it isn't me you owe. Sometime, some way, you'll see your way to pay that debt.
I see what you mean, Doc.
Goodbye, Jim.
Goodbye, Doc.
Dr. Christian's office. This is Judy Price. Dr. Christian isn't in. No, I don't think he can. He's leaving today on a fishing trip. Yes, I will. Goodbye.
Wait a minute, Judy. Who was that?
Ed Meadows. His rheumatism's bothering him again.
Oh, well, I'd better get right over there.
Oh, you'll do nothing of the sort. You're leaving on your vacation, and I'm going to see that you go. Oh, about that bill. Did you talk to Simon Schreiner this morning?
Simon? Oh, yes.
Well, what did he say?
Well, let me see now. I think he said he didn't believe it would rain.
What did he say about the bill?
Now, isn't that funny? I forgot to mention it.
Oh, I never saw such a person.
Hello, Doctor.
Hello, Roy.
Now, you get out of here, Roy Davis. Dr. Christian's busy. He's getting ready to leave on his vacation.
Yes, I know it. I just brought some medicine he ordered at the drugstore.
Oh, well, thanks, Roy.
Where are you going for your trip, Doctor?
Swampy Martin is going to row me up the river to his shack.
That loafer? I didn't know he had ambition enough to row anybody up the river.
Oh, no, Swampy's no loafer. He's sort of a scientist. He's made a study of the river and fishing just as you made a study of drugs.
Well, I was figuring on having him come around and wash my windows this afternoon, but if he's taking you on a trip, I'll get somebody else. Well, have a good time, Doc.
You bet he will. Why don't you have people call you Doctor instead of Doc? After all, you're a physician, a graduate of medical school.
Oh, no, Judy. That'd be kind of putting it on for just a country doctor.
Oh, country doctor or not, you're just as capable and just as talented as if you were in a big hospital somewhere.
No, Judy, you're wrong. I thought the same thing once. But that was a long time ago when I first came here with a nice new leather satchel full of shiny instruments and a head full of ambitious notions. Oh, I was only going to stay for a little while just to get experience. And then I was going to be a surgeon, a great surgeon. The world was going to hear from me. Well, you see?
If you're trying to make me believe you're a failure...
Well, who said anything about failure? Why, there are all sizes of jobs in this world. We can't all do the big ones. Somebody has to take care of the little ones. Say, isn't that Mrs. Withers coming across the street?
Oh, she can't be coming here. She told me only yesterday how good she was feeling. Ever so much better.
Oh, but you don't know Mrs. Withers. When she feels good, she usually feels bad because she knows that after she feels better, she'll always feel worse.
Oh, she is coming here. Are your fishing things packed?
Yes, but...
Go on in the back room and stay there.
Oh, but Judy, wait a minute.
I'll take care of Mrs. Withers.
Oh, but listen.
Go on in the back room and hurry. Oh, good morning, Mrs. Withers.
Oh, hello, Judy.
A nice day, isn't it?
Yes, I suppose it is for them as can enjoy it. Isn't Dr. Christian in?
Well, he's not here in the office.
Oh, then I'll wait. Might as well suffer here as in any other place.
In what places do you usually suffer, Mrs. Withers?
Oh, I suffer all over, Judy.
Well, you must get around quite a bit.
Oh, but I'm used to pain. I could stand it if it wasn't for those spells I have. Oh, when they come on, they're terrible. My mind's a blank.
So I've heard.
Judy, did you ever have everything go black and hear a roar and sound in your ears?
Yes, once when I went through a tunnel.
Oh, they last for days sometimes. Well, I only come out of them just long enough to eat. How long will I have to sit here and wait?
About 5 days. He's going on a fishing trip.
Oh, why, he can't do that. He can't go.
Your typical hypochondriac. November 7th, 1937, Dr. Christian on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. The news from 85 years ago today is next. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite station. Dr. Christian, episode number 1, as it was broadcast Sunday, November 7th, 1937. In the newspapers of that Sunday 85 years ago, these were some of the headlines. The biggest bear hunt in the history of Wall Street was on tonight in an effort to learn whether the current stock market slump was deliberately manipulated. It was undertaken by the 20th Century Fund, an independent endowed foundation which has been critical of market practices in the past at the request of the stock exchange. The investigation will run most of the winter, with a core of perhaps 30 expert auditors digging deep into the records of short sales and what effect these bear operations have on falling prices. Fascists warned the world tonight that the military forces of Italy, Germany, and Japan were prepared to back the tri-power anti-communist pact signed today. They intimated that the brief agreement, which makes Italy a charter member of the German-Japanese anti-Bolshevist front, binds the three powers to a collaboration which goes beyond even the fight on communism. The vanguard of a Japanese flying column driving north from Hangzhou Bay was reported today to be within 35 miles of Shanghai. Refugees streaming from Sungang, 22 miles southwest of Shanghai, informed Red Cross ambulance drivers the column had split into several units, with an advance body reaching a rice ferry on the Huangpu River, 3 miles from Sungyang, at dawn. University of Tennessee chemist Dr. J.H. Robertson announced today development of a new process for removing nicotine from burley tobacco without noticeably changing the natural aroma and color of the tobacco. British novelist H.G. Wells lunched today with Henry Ford. The author declined to say in a subsequent interview what they discussed. Wells, however, had kind words for President Roosevelt and the New Deal in his interview, while the industrialist Ford supported Alf M. Landon in the last presidential election and has criticized New Deal policies in subsequent interviews. Wells in Detroit on a lecture tour said, "I can't see any alternative to the New Deal, and that certainly you can't afford to have one of the old-fashioned figureheads succeed Roosevelt." And Carlisle Campbell must tip his hat to every policeman he meets within the next 90 days because he resisted one. The unusual sentence handed down by San Francisco Municipal Judge Teresa Mikely, Officer George Fitzgerald had arrested Campbell on a wife desertion charge when the man suddenly tore off the officer's buttons and badge. And those some of the day's top news stories as reported in the newspapers of Sunday, November 7th, 1937 on your radio, Dr. Christian, which continues now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
I've got to see him. Call him back.
If you think I'm going to spoil Dr. Christian's vacation just so you can enjoy one of your spells, you're mistaken. You can put your spell off.
Oh, no, Judy. No, if I have a spell, I'll die. I'll die before he gets back.
Oh, no, you won't. In fact, I'll guarantee that on the day he returns, you'll still be alive and kicking. So quit feeling sorry for yourself.
What? What did you say?
I said stop feeling sorry for yourself. There's nothing the matter with you.
Why, I never...
All you're after is attention.
Why,
you just want people to wait on you.
You snippety younglings. You can't talk to me like that. Why, what do you think I am? An empty-headed dodo?
You're getting warmer.
Oh, you just wait. Wait until Dr. Christian comes home. I'll tell him about this. I'll tell him plenty.
Judy!
You can come out now.
Has she gone?
She's gone. And Swampy Martin's waiting for you at the river. So you better hurry.
I'm leaving right away.
Promise me you'll have a good vacation. And the rest of your life.
I promise, Judy, because if I don't, I know you'll be nagging me for the rest of my life.
We all know somebody like that, don't we? November 7th, 1937, the first episode of Dr. Christian, starring Jean Hersholdt, on this Monday, Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. On Tuesday's Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, an episode of Gangbusters from 75 years ago, November 8th, 1947, The Case of the Jersey Butcher Bandits. Narrated by boxing champion Jim Braddock in person, the case concerns the theft of $250,000, broken by a bathing beach snapshot. That's coming up tomorrow on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, anytime at classicradio.stream. But now the conclusion of Dr. Christian, starring Jean Hersholdt, 85 years ago today, November 7th, 1937.
Now we return the microphone to Dr. Christian and his guide Swampy, who are bound for a fishing trip up the river.
Let me take the oars for a while, Swampy. Oh, you must be tired out pulling a boat all afternoon.
No, I'm not tired. Anyhow, we're almost there now. Shack's just around the bend.
What are they catching in the river this time of the year, Swampy?
Old tomato cans, mostly.
Well, maybe that's the only kind of cans that are biting.
Well, you don't have to worry. Jimmy'll show you the places.
How old is your boy now, Swampy?
14, going on 15, and about as smart as they come.
Is he still going to school?
Starts in high school this fall.
High school? You don't tell me.
Yes, sir. That boy's going to make something of himself. Well, there's the shack. Oh, Jimmy! Jimmy! Guess he don't hear me. Mind hopping out, Doc, and tying up the boat? Just fasten the line to that stump there. Wait here a minute, Doc. It's dark as all get out in there. I'll go in and light a lamp. Can't figure where Jimmy is.
Well, maybe he's out catching us a mess of fish for supper. I wouldn't mind sitting down to a nice...
Doc! Doc!
Huh?
He's in here.
What?
Jimmy. He's laying on the floor, all doubled up. He don't know me.
Come on with that lamp.
Jimmy. Jimmy.
Wait, don't touch him.
Doc, what do you think is wrong?
Hold the light down here. How long has he been sick?
He ain't been sick. He had a kind of a stomachache the day I left, but he didn't say much about it. I thought it was just something he had.
He's been here alone for 2 days? Where's the nearest phone?
I don't know. There's nobody living around here.
Then how far to the closest road?
4 miles, maybe 5.
Well, we've got to get him back to town.
The river's the quickest way.
Well, that'll take 3 or 4 hours.
Doc, what's the matter with him?
Appendix. Ruptured, I think.
Is it serious, Doc?
Swampy, Can you stand some bad news? Jimmy's going to die.
Die? Oh, no, Doc.
There's 1 chance in 10 an operation could save him. But he'd have to be fast. And we are hours away from River's End, 70 miles from the nearest hospital.
But you're a doctor.
I haven't the equipment, Swampy. I haven't the right kind of tools, the things to work with. Well, even if I had, I wouldn't dare to risk it here. This is a case for a skilled surgeon.
But you can do something.
I'm sorry, Swampy. There's nothing.
Jimmy. Jimmy. It's me. Your dad. He don't answer me. Don't even open his eyes. He was such a smart little fella, Doc. So bright and cheerful like. And so grown-up acting. He didn't hardly complain at all about being sick the day I left. Just stood there on the bank, waving to me as I went away in the boat. Waving till I got around the bend. That's the last I saw of him, standing there, saying goodbye. And now, Doc, you've got to do something. He's all I have. You've got to.
Swampy, light all the lamps. Start a fire on that stove. Put some water on to boil. Get my little kid out of the boat. And get all the knives you've got.
Knives?
Yes, kitchen knives, hunting knives, everything you've got.
But, Doc, you're not...
I'm going to operate.
How do you do?
Good afternoon. Say, this is Dr. Paul Christian's office, isn't it?
Yes.
I'd like to see the doctor.
Dr. Christian isn't here.
Say, what about the operation he performed?
Operation? What operation?
Oh, come on now. You might as well talk. We're going to catch up with Christian sooner or later anyway. Now, listen, if you don't want to tell me about the operation, tell me where he is.
He's on a vacation.
Okay, have it your way. But just the same...
Pardon me a moment. There's someone at the door.
That's all right. I'll be getting along. But I'll be back.
Oh, come in, Mrs. Withers.
I suppose I'll have to wait again.
No, this gentleman is just leaving. Well, Mrs. Withers, I see you're still here and alive.
Yes, I'm here. But that's more than you'll be when I talk to Dr. Christian. Where is he?
Still fishing.
Fishing? That makes a nice story. You know as well as I do that Dr. Christian hasn't been on a fishing trip at all.
What?
Just look what the Morning City paper has to say.
Where?
Right there, under visitors in the city.
Dr. Paul Christian of River's End was seen coming out of the Palace Hotel last evening where...
Was seen coming out of the Palace Hotel. And I don't think it's possible to come out of something that you haven't gone in.
Oh, I don't know. What about a chicken coming out of an egg?
Oh, well, chickens have nothing to do with it. You've lied to me, deceived me.
Who's deceived who about what?
Oh, Dr. Christian. Oh, Judy, she's deceived me about chickens coming out of eggs and... Oh, I'm going to have a spell.
Oh, no.
Oh, but I am. Oh, Doctor, I feel awful.
Here, now, sit down. Just relax. We'll see if you're running a little fever. Open the mouth. Now close. That's it, Judy. Get my stethoscope, will you? Thanks.
How was the trip?
Oh, fine. Pretty hot. Now open, Mrs. Withers.
Did you say pretty hot?
Mm-hmm. Hot as I've ever seen it.
Oh, but Doctor, what does that mean?
Oh, usually violent electrical disturbances in the interior.
Oh, my. Oh, what does a person do when that happens?
Well, the best thing to do, Mrs. Withers, is just to give up.
Give up?
Yes, no use trying to fish in weather like that. Here, take this, Judy. Well, Mrs. Withers, you seem to be in a pretty good condition.
Oh, but I'm going to have a spell, Doctor. I can feel it coming on. Oh, can't you do something for me?
Well, yes, it just so happens that I think I can.
Oh, Doctor.
There have been some recent scientific discoveries about spells like yours, Mrs. Withers.
Oh, tell me.
And one of the most effective gastronomic agents has been...
Yes.
carrots.
Oh, carrots.
So I think I'll put you on a diet of raw carrots.
Oh, but you know I don't like carrots. I hate carrots.
Well, we all have to do things we don't like, Mrs. Withers. Now, anytime you feel a spell coming on, you just go on a diet of raw carrots for about 3 days. And after that, drop in and tell me how you are.
Oh, but there must be some other...
Nothing but carrots, Mrs. Withers. Just raw carrots. And don't come in until you try them for 3 days.
Oh, yes, but...
Goodbye, Mrs. Withers.
Oh.
Shh, don't laugh. I'll bet you an ice cream soda it works. Well, Judy, anything happen while I was away?
Oh, a few things, but they can wait. Tell me about your vacation.
Oh, there's nothing much to tell. I didn't do much.
Just loafed around the shack, I suppose.
Did my share of loafing.
And had a nice rest.
Yes, sir. Why, I feel like another man.
You must be another man, because Dr. Paul Christian wasn't on a fishing trip. He was in the city.
Huh? What's that?
Read this.
Oh.
Yes. Oh.
Well, to tell you the truth,
Yes, why don't you?
I did go to the city. You see, there was a little trouble about...
Oh, I'll answer it. Dr. Christian's office? Oh, yes, Jerry, I'm leaving in about 15 minutes. Meet me at the drugstore. Did I hear what? Swampy Martin's boy? He's... Oh, Jerry. But it couldn't have been Dr. Christian. He was in the city. Yes, it was... No. Yes.
Listen to me. I operate on him. I had to. He was...
Are you Dr. Paul Christian?
Yes.
My name's Thorne. I want to have a talk with you in private. I had orders from my paper to get an interview or else.
Oh, but why should a newspaper be interested in a thing like this?
Why? When a doctor operates with kitchen knives on the floor of a fishing shack and saves a boy's life?
Oh, that...
Say, do you know what they told me at the Central Hospital? That it was one of the most remarkable pieces of surgery they'd ever seen. But go ahead. What happened after you operated?
Well, there isn't much more to tell. For the next 2 or 3 days, I didn't get much sleep.
Mm-hmm.
But he was a strong and healthy boy, and he pulled through fine. Well, when he was well enough to move, I took him to the city, to Central Hospital, and he's doing splendidly.
What was your idea of being so doggone mysterious about the affair? The hospital said you were at the hotel said you were at the hospital, and then I finally discovered you'd left the city.
Well, you see, I didn't want Judy, she's my office girl, to find out. But I might as well have been open and above board. She found out anyhow. Mr. Thorne, if you have any dark secrets in your life, don't ever move to a small town.
Say, you know, Dr. Christian, after hearing what they said about you at Central Hospital, I wonder what you're doing in a small town. Why you're wasting your time in a place like this? Have you ever thought of leaving?
Well, yes. Yes, I guess I have.
Then here's something to think about. Right now is the time to do it. When the news of this operation breaks in tomorrow's papers, you're going to be famous.
Oh, I don't know.
Well, I do. And you ought to be in the city where you'll have the opportunity to do the important work you can do. I'd like to get a statement for the paper about what your future plans are.
You want to quote me, you mean?
Yeah, that's it.
Well, you can say that I've been very happy here in River's End. Oh, it's such a nice little town. But then, of course, I know there's no big opportunities here. I know that as long as I stay, I'll just be a country doctor.
So when do you plan to leave? Next week?
No, I couldn't get away next week.
Maybe in a month, huh?
I'm afraid not. Fact is, I don't think I can get away at all.
Can't get away at all? You mean you're staying here? But why?
You see, well, a patient of mine, Mrs. Withers, she's going to have a spell.
And so we take leave of River's End for the present, secure in the feeling that we can look in again on the old town next Sunday afternoon to find Dr. Christian at home among the friends and patients who could not do without him. Before we sign off, though, we want you to meet some of the artists you're going to become well acquainted with this winter. Rosemary DeCamp, who played Judy Price.
Hello, everybody. It's fun working in this show, not only because I get a kick out of bossing Jean Hersholdt around, but because I'm one of the Cheeseburger Manufacturing Company's best customers. My pet use of Vaseline jelly is for my hands. After I've done any kind of housework or got my hands chapped and rough from outdoor sports, I apply it to get rid of the roughness and redness. You see, Vaseline jelly costs only 10 cents a jar, which is an item to a working girl. And it's the best remedy I know for chapped hands.
Good girl, Rosemary. Now here is Noreen Gamel, who played Mrs. Withers.
I'm glad to get a chance to speak to you in my normal voice, just to prove I don't complain all the time. Privately, I enjoy very good health, thank you. I was practically raised on Vaseline products. My mother used them on us kids for everything, from sore throat to skinned knuckles.
And last but not least, Gail Gordon, who played Roy Davis, the druggist of River's End.
As a druggist, I have a chance to try everything in the store, but when it comes to hair tonics, I settled long ago on just one. Vaseline hair tonic. Keeps the scalp clean and healthy and lubricated and slicks the hair down just enough for good grooming.
Thank you, all of you. Prices of Vaseline products mentioned on this program apply only in the United States. When you purchase Vaseline preparations, be sure to look for the trademark Vaseline on the package. If you don't see it, you are not getting the genuine article.
The program was unique in later years in that they held contests for scripts, and they got tons and tons of scripts, and they paid out lots of money to regular writers and, not necessarily fancy Hollywood script writers. From November 7th, 1937, Dr. Christian on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Do me a favor and visit my webpage, classicradio.stream. If you miss a day, you don't have to miss a single show. All of our shows are there for you to listen to on demand. There are lists of places where you can download our shows. You can also learn about building a classic radio collection of your own. You can contact me, find our social media links, and if you'd like to help us expand our collection of programs, you can buy me a coffee. That buy me a coffee money, I don't drink coffee, it goes to expand our collection. There you go at classicradio.stream. Thank this station, support the advertisers, tell your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station.